interesting and creative. Or maybe not, I don't know. It's a management term, and those of you who have studied systems of management know what the HIPPO is in terms of managing a corporation. The HIPPO is an acronym for the highest paid person's opinion. And a lot of companies that are dying off have realized that if they always listen to the HIPPO, the company dies. Because the HIPPO may at one time have been on the cutting edge of what was happening in the company, but there comes a point where the HIPPO gets so high up that they've lost touch with what the company is doing. And so if you want the company to succeed, you have to listen to all the people. All the quiet people who are going about the work. They're the ones who know. So don't listen to the highest paid person's opinion. Listen to the people. Now, if you want to see a company that is successful, you look around and there's lots, but my favorite successful company today is Google. And I'm fairly sure that within a few years, Google will control every aspect of every life on the planet. They have done really, really well. And Google lives by the HIPPO principle. You never listen to the HIPPO. Listen to the people that are doing the work. In fact, they've expanded the HIPPO theory a little bit, and they have made the great discovery that whenever you get a group of people together to discuss an issue, in that room there is always a person who dominates because they have the loudest voice. There's always this person that has to say something about every issue. And if you don't agree with them, they often respond with anger or temper. And that's their way of telling you, if you don't agree with me, I will get you. And it's also their way of saying, the next time we have an argument, you better listen to me or I'll rage and temper again. And normal people simply don't want to expose themselves to a person that can flare up with anger. So next time around, they get their way. That person is often very repetitive. They'll state their point over and over and over again, and if they don't get what is coming to them, they take it really personally. So it's the new HIPPO. The loudest person, the most insistent, angry person. And if you allow a corporation to be governed by that person, it is doomed for failure. So Google has developed this amazing rule in their meetings that whatever they're discussing, each person may only speak to the matter one time. Now, those of you who are Presbyterian elders are going, aha! Google has discovered the Presbyterian form of church government. Whenever we get together as a session, one of those awful rules in the Book of Forms is that each person may only speak once to each matter. And there are people that hate that. You know which people they are. Because what it does is it allows for the quiet voice to be heard. And it may be a surprise to you, but people who are repetitive and angry and insistent and vengeful and take things personally generally do not have the truth. They don't have anything of value to offer. People who have wisdom are the quiet people who are reluctant to share their opinion and from whom a statement must be drawn. The goodness and the truth and the worth is in the quiet people. You know, whenever I read that in the Book of Forms, or whenever I read about this management principle from Google or somewhere else, on the one hand I say, that's great. On the other hand, insistent, angry person. And I dedicate myself again to listening to the quiet voice. The loud and angry person is motivated by three principal drives, and those are fear, self-interest, and distrust. They're afraid of the future. And now we come to the golden calf. We see this same principle played out 3,000 years ago. The expression of the loud, powerful, angry, insistent voice calling on God's people to become fearful just like they are, and to become filled with self-interest and distrust. And momentarily, they won when they forced Aaron to make that golden calf. And by this point, for those people, fear and self-interest and distrust should have been left way in the past. They should have learned at the Red Sea when the fearful, distrustful people said, yeah, see, we told you we couldn't get away from Egypt. Let's go back and save ourselves. Or when they were hungry and they said, I told you this wasn't going to work out. Let's go back to Egypt. God fed them with manna. And when they were thirsty and they said, we told you we're all going to die. Let's go back to Egypt. It's better to be slaves than to live out here with such uncertainty. And God gave them water. From a place water should not have been. It was impossible. And God said through Moses to those people again and again, you are not called to fear. You are called to courage. You are not called to self-interest. You are called to compassion. You are not called to build your lives on distrust, but in full trust in God for the future. But when Moses had been gone for just 40 days, or very likely this descent started long before the 40-day absence, leaders rose up from within the people, and it was that old voice that was loud and fearful and full of self-interest and distrust, and they said, everything is falling apart, the world is going to pot, he is never coming back. Moses is dead. God has lost interest in us. Now we need to look after ourselves. Forget the great vision we had of a promised land. Think about yourselves. We need a new direction and a new God. It was those same people who had spoken at the Red Sea, saying, let's go back. The same people who had spoken in the desert in between Elim and Sinai when the people were hungry, and they said, listen to us, there is no God to feed you. It was the same people at Massah and Meribah when the people were thirsty. Those loud, angry people who said, God has abandoned you. Let's go back to Egypt. And now they manipulate Aaron into making the golden calf. And the golden calf wasn't some new god. The golden calf was a well-established god that they all knew about. It was the god of Mesopotamia. And as far as they could see, it was a pretty good god. There they were wandering in the desert with hardly enough food or water, but the people in Mesopotamia who worshipped that golden calf, and the golden calf stood for good weather, good crops, prosperity, and fertility. And they said, that's a good God. Let's worship that one because it has our self-interest in mind. And the God of the golden calf said to the people, worship me, and I will give you prosperity. That God has a name, Baal-Zebub, because we are subject to worshiping the golden calf, the God of prosperity, even today. Sometimes we equate the worship of God with success, with prosperity, with bounty. Sometimes we think that it is our God who has said, if you worship me, I will make you prosperous. We think it is our God who panders to our fear, self-interest, and lack of faith. Sometimes we get that God mixed up with the God who is revealed to us in the person of Jesus. And I assure you, on this day when we give thanks for our prosperity, remember this: the one true God has never promised prosperity. And if we have much, it is only given to us to share with others. To which God do we bow down at thanksgiving? We have to be really careful as we give thanks for stuff, because we might create the image to the world around us that God is a God who promises prosperity and success. Like Beelzebub promised to the people in the deserts of Sinai when they were hungry, when their own God simply said to them, give you enough bread and meat, I will give you water, and I want you to trust me for the future. God is the source of all our blessings. But what those blessings are to us depends entirely on how we receive them and what we do with them. We keep them for ourselves. They are gifts from Beelzebub. Only in giving them away are they the gifts of God. Remember that. What has the true God promised to you, if not material prosperity? Some very simple things, spoken in a quiet voice. God says, I will give you peace. You will not be afraid of tomorrow. I will give you the presence of my Holy Spirit. You will not be alone. I will give you a compassionate heart with which you will feel the hurt of other people and respond. Ask for those things and for nothing else. And be careful, because that loud voice that cried out in the desert, whether it is the hippo or the golden calf, the angry, repetitive, insistent voice is inside of all of us, making us feel afraid for the future, so we have to store up treasures for ourselves, making us wallow in self-interest, saying, look at what you have, you had better hold on to it, and making us feel a lack of trust for tomorrow, so we become weak and content. That is not the voice of God. The one true God is in the quiet voice saying, do not be afraid, I am with you. If you want joy and wholeness, then feel the hunger of the homeless and act with compassion. Give thanks, trust in you for your future. Voice of fear is always loud.